Anyone ever notice how people around you start to feel awkward when you start to change for real? You can guess that they don't talk freely. To hide it, they'll tell you jokes, give you advice that sounds like worry, or be quiet when you talk about something more serious. But what's really going on is pretty easy. Your mental growth puts them in danger of losing their comfort zone, and no one likes being forced to face how comfortable they are. It's possible that you are going through this right now. You started to act and think in new ways, and you might even have started to question things you used to take for granted. All of a sudden you felt alone, judged, and not understood. And not. Why didn't anyone tell you this? Nietzsche knew better than anyone else that this is what it takes to make your mind strong. Not just any strength, but a strength that is so real and strong that it makes other people feel nervous. It makes them scared. It shows the weak points of people who still live on autopilot without them saying a word. But why does this take place? Because a truly strong mind is a threat to the average mind as a whole. It was clear to Nietzsche what this meant. You become dangerous when you choose to think for yourself, make up your own ideals, and give up the safe illusion of ready-made truths. Not only is it bad for the system and other people, but it's also bad for your old self. This movie is a challenge and a call. Some people might find it easy to understand, but it's not made for those people. For people who are sick of being held captive by their own doubts, who feel like they are about to burst, and who are ready to construct something that no one can destroy. A thought that can't be changed by anyone else. A thought that scares you because it won't bend. You will be alone and tough on this path, but it will change you for the better if you are ready for it. Nietzsche will teach you things that will make you think, but they will also set you free. You'll never think the same way again after this. Nietzsche was more than just a thinker. He was a soul surgeon who was brave enough to look into the abyss of life and not only face it, but also dive into it. And it was in that abyss, in that inner chaos that most people try to avoid, that he found real power. Nietzsche thought that people don't change when things are peaceful, stable, or in order. It hurts. It's fall time. It's a mess. It's not a literary allegory that he wrote. You need to have a chaos inside you to give birth to a dancing star. This is a real psychological diagnosis. This means that if you want to build a strong mind, you need to give up the silly idea that comfort, cheap motivation, or good affirmations will make it happen. No, real strength comes from facing pain without running away. The moment you stop wanting things to be easier and begin wanting to be better, remember the times you grew the most. When everything was okay? Or was it when you were broken, lost, and had to put yourself back together by yourself? Nietzsche thought that pain was not a mistake in life, but rather the main reason for it. He didn't find beauty in pain. He used it as a tool. And if you can change how you deal with pain, failure, and being alone, you start to form a rare trait, an unbreakable soul. It's right there that the world starts to be bothered by you. Because most people run away from chaos, but you will learn how to walk through it. While others beg for things to be normal, you will make great things happen. You have to break every rule you learned about strength in order to make this change, though. You don't have to smile all the time to be strong. It is not about pretending to be in charge of your feelings. You can only be strong if you can handle the worst and come out on the other side even more dangerous. He did know, though, that chaos by itself is not enough. This thing can kill you if you don't have an inner center or anchor. So the next part will be about the most important part of Nietzschean philosophy, when he kills God and makes you responsible for everything in your life. That's because the universe needs to be born inside you when there is no sky to look up at. God is dead, Nietzsche said, but he wasn't happy about it. He was sending a message that a lot of people still don't get today. He didn't really kill a god. He killed the idea of this God, the false belief that something higher is in charge of everything. This is the false belief that something is planned, has a reason, or was made by someone outside of you. Since God died, there is no more reason to lie. That's scary because it was easy to entrust other people with your life before that. It made me feel better to think that everything happens for a reason, that pain is part of God's plan, and that in the end, everything will be okay. Nietzsche rips this cover off with great force. He tells you straight out that you are by yourself. There is no meaning that is already made. Now you are the one who made it. In this area is where building a strong mind really starts. Because most people give up when they realize they are in the middle of chaos without a guide. no promises, and no one to blame. However, those who are brave enough to face this without giving up start to build a strong mind. Nietzsche throws you into the deep end of radical freedom with the death of God. You shouldn't just follow the rules, you should make your own standards. Do not follow. You should do better than yourself. It's the start of harsh independence. It comes with a lot of weight. You are responsible for everything now. There is no longer forgiveness. There is no more way to be saved. You either get better or go down. But here's the trick. The freedom that scares you is also the most powerful thing you can have. Something inside you wakes up when you realize that no one will come to save you. A fire that makes you get up even if you're bleeding. In that case, you have to think and feel for yourself and act because you want to, not because someone else told you to. Nietzsche makes way for something even bigger, the start of a new way of being. This breaking away from philosophical crutches is what makes it possible. One kind of person who doesn't follow the rules of the group and doesn't need permission or support. A being that makes their own morals, goes beyond their own boundaries, and lives as a creator. Someone or something that scares weak people because it makes them see themselves as they really are. This thing has a name. It was what Nietzsche called the Übermensch, or Overman. So let's talk about him now. If you want to make your mind so strong that no one can break it, you need to learn how to become someone who lives above rules and is only driven by their own will to power. Nietzsche didn't think that people would slowly and passively change over time. He believed in breaking things, in big changes, and in making things better. That's why he came up with the idea of the Übermensch, or Superman. It's not about a superhero. The person in question does not have magical skills. The Übermensch is someone who has gotten rid of all the things that hold normal people back, like guilt, obedience, group morals, and the need to fit in. The Übermensch doesn't want to fit in. He doesn't need permission to be there. He makes up his own rules and follows them, even if they are against everything else. This is exactly why his mind can't be broken. It's not based on what other people expect. It doesn't need approval from other people to prove itself. It can take care of itself. It gets power from its own strong desire to change the world, to fit its own ideas. This is the main point. The Übermensch doesn't change with the times, instead, he gives the times meaning. That's not what he wants to be great. When he asks, "Is this worthy of me?" instead of, "Is this allowed?" the whole thing changes. It changes everything about how you think, act, and feel when you stop seeing yourself as a servant and start seeing yourself as a maker. But this is where the trouble is. To become this kind of being, you have to make sacrifices. You will have to kill the parts of you that still want to be liked. You will have to deal with the pain of not fitting in. There will be no guarantees, pats on the back, or applause from the crowd. You will have to build your reputation from scratch. It's too much for most people to handle. They give up before they even begin. They go back to the safety of ideas, dogmas, and rules that were written for them already. Nazism knew that the way to become an Übermensch is a lonely one. He was on the edges of society, confused and called crazy, and cut off from the people he was trying to free. But being by himself was where he found freedom. You need to understand this. The more powerful your mind gets, the farther away you are from the crowd. The higher you go, the more you upset. Because you have to destroy everything that isn't yours, becoming an Übermensch is the cruelest and most life-changing thing that can happen to you. Everything that you have to do because you live in a sick world that rewards conformity and punishes individuality. Before you start to build, you have to destroy first. But this building doesn't happen in the middle of a crowd. It takes place in deep quiet, in silence, in the space between the strong and the weak. So in the next part, we'll talk about the most important and little talked about part of this journey, the strong person's silence. Because the truth is that you will need to learn how to walk alone if you want to be strong. Not many people are ready for that. Are you? No one tells you this about the way to mental strength. It makes you feel more alone as you get stronger. People start to avoid you not because you choose to, but because they don't know what to do with you. Nietzsche made this very clear. People with a free spirit, who don't follow social norms, who don't take things at face value, and who think for themselves will always be different from the crowd. That space between us hurts. To really grow, though, you need space. And you can't grow if you're tied down by other people's standards. Most people live in an invisible herd where their every thought and action is watched and judged by how others respond. You're used to going with a group, thinking like the group and feeling safe because there are other people around. Nietzsche, on the other hand, says the opposite. He takes you from that safe place and throws you in the wild. That area doesn't have any praise, cheers, or signs. There are only you, your fears, your questions, and your need to give up. That is where the real test starts. What are most people going to do? They're going to run back. They are going to hide behind their masks again. They will act like they don't see, feel, or think. But you have to stay if you really want to become someone that can't be broken. The quiet that shows who you really are will have to be endured. Nietzsche said, "The individual must always struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try, you will often feel lonely and sometimes scared. But no price is too high to pay for possessing yourself." That is what it is all about, possessing oneself. The hardest and most important thing that anyone can do, because no one can control you when you truly own yourself. No one else can tell you how much you're worth or bring you down. But having this thing comes with the weight of being alone. People will leave you. People will get you wrong. People will tell you that you are cocky, strange, and far away. They are going to try to fit you back into the mold. People will say that you are crazy, cold, and uncaring. But that's what comes with not being tamed. It's what you get for not needing praise. It's what you get for not living your life to meet the needs of others. Truth time. If you can't handle being alone, you're not ready for freedom. Because giving up emotional crutches, comfortable illusions, and useful bonds is the only way to truly be free. This is why Nietzsche thought of being alone as a privilege and a battlefield where the real self could finally show itself. But this mind that is free and this spirit that is high does not walk by itself. It starts to see things that other people don't see. The second effect that will happen is that you will have to deal with mediocrity. When you start to get strong, the group of weak people can feel it and react. That's exactly what we're going to talk about next. The risk of being average as a group. The world doesn't want people who are the same. It wants people who are brave enough to stand out. Nietzsche didn't have any fear of rulers, dictators, or people who were known to oppress others. He was very angry about the idea of group mediocrity because he thought it was harmful and weak. That hidden system that keeps everyone at the same level, punishes those who try to think differently, rewards those who obey, and passes off cowardice as virtue. Nietzsche said that real authority doesn't come from above but from the sides. That's what the crowd wants, so you stay small so they don't have to grow. The same thing happens when you start to stand out. This is because you are doing something very different, not because you are doing something bad. When your mind gets sharper, your spirit gets stronger, and your presence gets more uncomfortable, you start to disturb. You're not like everyone else. People hate people who don't follow the rules. Individual genius can't stand up to mediocrity as a whole because it shows how dark everyday life is. Nietzsche called this the slave morality, a set of values created by people who, unable to become great, chose to turn them around. They turned being strong into haughtiness, wanting something into greed, and being independent into coldness. That's how they made a moral system that looks out for the weak and punishes the strong. Don't get the wrong idea, though. It's not out of kindness, it's anger. Because weak people don't want to be helped, they want to hurt strong people. They start to attack you when you start to free yourself because of this, sometimes directly and sometimes with looks, silence, or irony. But the word is clear. Go back to the group. You're making us feel small, and you are, just by being yourself. Nietzsche knew that most people's lives are ruled by fear, guilt, and submission, which makes them unable to think or act. People who question this government are seen as a threat. Don't let this fool you, though. Not being good enough doesn't attack with force, it strikes with numbers, with agreement, with the weight of repetition. It will try to make you doubt yourself. It will make you feel bad about not fitting in. All of society's tools, like shame and being left out, will be used to bring you down. At this point, a lot of people give up because they can't take being weird, hard to deal with, or cocky any longer. You could call him something else, though. Necessary. It's the strong person who makes things uncomfortable so that something new can be born. Even though the world is full of old ideas, made-up wants, and comforting facts. People will fight against your different, but it is also what will change things. Being strong, able to think openly, and living on your own are all acts of war against the idea that everyone should be average. Like any other war, it needs to be planned for. It needs weapons, but not real weapons. It needs emotional weapons. We are going to talk about that right now in the last part. It costs a lot to make your mind so strong that it scares you, but it also gives you something that no one can take away. You will learn about the cost and benefits of being unbreakable in the next section. You made it this far. That makes you already different from most people. This movie would have been closed by most people at the first sign of trouble. If anything made them feel bad, they would have run away. If they knew this wasn't just content to boost their ego, they would have turned it off right away. This is a call to action for people who are ready to give up the easy lie and face truth with their eyes wide open. Because making your mind so strong that people are afraid of it isn't just a choice. It's a giving up. You're going to lose. You'll lose friends that you only knew on a surface level. You will miss out on chances that need you to submit. You will no longer be able to be happy with little. But in return, you get something very valuable. Honesty, clarity, and presence. As time goes on, you'll realize that most people are asleep, and that your clarity is scary, your strength makes others shaky, and your absence is stronger than many others' presence. It's not outside sources that give this strength. It's not something you can learn from self-help books or win with ready-made phrases or empty affirmations. It is dug deep into the soul during the dark nights and in the decisions that no one sees. It comes from a battle inside you between the person you were and the person you are becoming. The truly strong are not those who have won. They are those who keep fighting even though they know they could stop. Nietzsche didn't want people to follow him. He wanted to cause shocks inside the country. He told you to stop begging for acceptance, meaning, and ready-made systems. He said that you should only build things with your own blood, sweat, and awareness. He wanted you to become dangerous, but not in a violent way. He wanted you to be so rare that people who don't know you have to look in the mirror and face what they're trying to avoid. Now, I want to ask you to do something that will make this process stronger. Don't be afraid to share an opinion or truth that you're tired of hiding in the comments. It could be something that makes you feel alone but is true to who you are. Claim your voice, show your presence, and more than that, say that you will no longer bend. This is part of the process. And if this movie moved you or sparked something inside you, don't stop now. This video is important, but the next one might be even more so. It keeps going on this trip. Now that you've read this far, you know you're not just watching for fun. You're here because you're changing on the inside. So keep going. You're not by yourself. You're just ahead. You know what? That's scary, but it's also freeing.